the elegant, enigmatic circuit, knows what happened and says she won't report him if he does as she asks. After his hospital day shifts, he must go to an abandoned garage in the desert and treat ill, wounded Eritrean refugees. And there
have been injured and tens of thousands are homeless. Well, joining me now is David Alexander. He's Professor of Emergency Planning and Management at University College London. Professor Alexander, welcome to you. Was Turkey sufficiently prepared for a disaster on this scale?
Probably not, because it is extremely difficult to prepare for a disaster on that scale. One of the reasons why is poor quality building stock. This is a disaster not really caused by earthquake, but caused by poor quality construction. However, let it be said that Turkey, since the earthquake of 1999, in which 17,000 people died, has improved its civil protection. It has more and better emergency response units, including search and rescue, inscribed, for example, in the United Nations INSARAG register of search and rescue units, and hence it certainly is better at responding to these events than it was perhaps a decade or more ago.
Why, given Turkey's seismology and its history, has building quality been allowed to be substandard?
Well, Turkey has revised its building codes 5 times in the last 55 years. The 2018 revision was a good one. The codes are up to date. However, they don't tend to apply retrospectively. A large number of multi-occupancy, multi-story buildings of the kind that we see in the films of collapsed buildings here were built in the 1950s and thereafter. And indeed, there are some new buildings that are simply not built to code. So it's a question of using the right techniques, of ensuring that codes are enforced, which I don't think Turkey does well, and avoiding some of the mistakes in construction that can lead to this pancaking of buildings where there is a total loss of structural integrity, which is what we're looking at in the photographs here, the pictures and videos of buildings that have completely collapsed, leaving, moreover, almost no void spaces in which there are likely to be living people.
Is there a case for saying that Turkey has pursued economic growth at the expense of building its resilience to earthquakes?
I fear that there is. It is a country that is hugely at risk, not merely of earthquakes, but also of floods and other types of natural hazard impact. However, what it has not done is to increase its resilience of both housing, other buildings, and critical infrastructure. That, of course, means that it's very hard to get in there and rescue people during that golden period of 12 hours or 24 hours in which people trapped under the rubble can be rescued alive.
What's the gold standard for resilience towards earthquakes? I would assume it's a country like Japan.
I think you're right there. I've been in substantial earthquakes in Japan where people in the local coffee bar have not even stopped reading the newspaper. Such is the degree of protection. They are very rigorous about reinforcing and enforcing their building codes. This doesn't always leave them in a perfect position. For example, they misestimated the risk to nuclear plants with the tsunami of 2011. They hadn't updated the building code sufficiently in the 1995 Kobe earthquake because they didn't expect there to be such a large earthquake there. However, Turkey has got good seismic engineers. Syria did as well, except, of course, that with the civil war, so much was destroyed and disrupted there. And they have a pretty clear idea of what the defects of construction are in Turkish reinforced concrete buildings.
Professor Alexander, we have to leave it there. Appreciate you joining me today. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And we'll have a special programme live from Turkey, bringing you all the latest on the situation following the devastating earthquakes. That's at 3 o'clock here this afternoon on Sky News. A growth in world electricity demand is set to accelerate this year, according to the International Energy Agency, the multinational body that seeks to shape energy policies around the world. The IEA says that demand growth, which slowed to 2% in 2022, is set to average 3% during each of the next 3 years, driven by emerging and developing economies in Asia. But it says nearly all of that extra demand for electricity around the world during the next 3 years can be met from low-emission sources, chiefly renewables and nuclear power. Well, joining me now is Kaisuke Sadamori. He's the IEA's Director of Energy Markets and Security. Welcome to you, sir. Obviously, it's encouraging that the demands can be met from low-emission sources, but is the generating capacity in the places where the demand is?
Yes, we expect that the capacity will be able to meet the demand, and as you say, that the almost all the additional electricity demand growth will be met by low carbon sources like the renewables and the nuclear. So this is a good news in terms of the decarbonization of the electricity systems.
Now, a lot of this demand obviously is going to be coming from China in particular. Give me an idea of the energy mix in the generating capacity they're building right now.
In terms of the China, the Chinese electricity demand will be reaching 1/3 of the world, which is quite impressive, because only 10 years ago, it was around kind of the 1/4, and now we are seeing the kind of reaching that to the 1/3. But the China is a champion of the renewable deployment addition. And we are seeing around 40% of the global renewable electricity is deployed in China. But still, the Chinese electricity demand growth is so strong that coal-fired power plants, they are still playing a very important role. I understand that around kind of 60% of the electricity is still met by the coal-fired power plants in China.
And that's an interesting point you make, because whilst you expect to see a decline in coal-fired generation in Europe and the Americas, that's going to be more or less entirely offset by growing coal use in the Asia-Pacific region.
Exactly. In 2022, the coal-fired power plant, the coal-fired power generation reached an all-time high, and the coal consumption was the highest in history in 2022. Going forward, we expect that the coal demand will plateau. So coal-fired power generation, as you say, that even though the US in Europe will see the declines in coal-fired power generations, but that'll be offset by the strong growth in China, India, and other parts of developing Asia. So we expect that the coal-fired power generation will plateau in the coming 3 years.
Clearly, coal prices have been very, very strong over the last 12 months or so. Do you see any evidence that that's leading to demand destruction?
Well, of course, we are seeing a very strong growth of renewables, which is good. But there is still room for the coal and natural gas thermal power generations. So at least in 2022, we saw very high natural gas prices. So because the natural gas and coal, they compete each other in the power generations. So coal, the prices went high. So we expect that the coal prices, high coal prices, will support the deployments of low carbon generations. But it will take some time for that to displace the coal-fired power generations to be on track to achieve the decarbonization goals.
And what about nuclear? What role does nuclear have in meeting this extra demand? I mean, it's interesting that countries like Japan and Germany, which had previously forsworn nuclear power, are now looking again at it.
You are completely right. We consider that the nuclear is a very important low-carbon power generation sources. And the energy security situation is leading countries like Japan or even Germany to appreciate and reconsider the role of nuclear in the power generation mix. Japan decided to restart the idled nuclear power plants, and Germany decided to postpone the full decommissioning of the nuclear power plants. So we and also last year, 2022, we saw the French nuclear not so available due to the various technical issues, and we hope that they will come back online to they contribute more to the European electricity systems.
All right, Mr. Salamori, it's good to talk to you this morning. Appreciate you joining me. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Some other business news stories for you now. And Barratt Developments has cut its half-year dividend after warning that reservations continue to be below the level it was seeing this time last year. UK's biggest house builder by completions said that trading in January had represented a slight improvement on what it saw during the final 3 months of last year, but it warned that the challenging economic backdrop and weakening consumer confidence was weighing on the market. Well, the company was reporting pre-tax profits of £501.5 million for the 6 months to the end of December. That was up 15.9% on the same period a year earlier. JD Sports said this morning it had completed the sale of a number of fashion brands to Mike Ashley's Frasers Group. The brands sold include Tessuti, Scott's, Choice, Julio and Cricket. JD announced just before Christmas it was selling 15 fashion brands to Frasers for up to £47.5 million. Other brands included in the deal included Pretty Green, the fashion label founded by the Oasis singer Liam Gallagher. However, both sides said today that no longer changing hands would be the Rascal clothing brand, although there was no explanation why. And Smurfit Kappa, one of the world's biggest paper and packaging companies, said this morning that 2023 had started well and that the unprecedented levels of inflation it had seen last year had begun to moderate towards the end of 2022. Tony Smurfit, the chief executive, said European inflation had probably peaked, and he added that congestion in the company's supply chains was starting to ease. The FTSE 100 company, which is based in Dublin, was reporting a pre-tax profit of €1.29 billion for 2022. That was up 42% on 2021. The company said it had been able to recover input cost inflation by progressively increasing the price of its boxes. Now, strong sales growth in the UK and Germany has helped Pandora, the world's biggest jewellery company, to a record year. The Danish company Today, famous for its signature charm bracelets, reported a full-year pre-tax profit of 6.5 billion Danish crowns. That's £781 million for 2022, and that was up 21% on the previous year. Well, I've been speaking with the company's chief executive, Alexander Lasic, and began by asking if he was surprised at how strongly the business performed at the end of last year.
It was a record sales year for Pandora. It was the best year ever. No, and it didn't really come as a surprise. It was a touch above our guidance range, as you know. So we ended up with 7% organic growth, and the guidance was 4 to 6. And then the profit came in at 25.5, which was the very top end of our guidance. So no, it wasn't a surprise, really. I think we have, since the turnaround program that we started in 2019, we came out of that, I think, in 2020, then we've kind of been on this Phoenix strategy with some very, clear and identifiable building blocks. And the growth is coming along as we've scheduled or planned for. Now, of course, the macro was something that we didn't expect. So in that light, I'm very pleased that we actually landed the year the way we did.
Is your base case for 2023 that there will be a recession in the United States and Europe? And if so, how are you positioning the business?
Well, so if I answer that in two ways, one is the kind of the numeric way. So it's the guidance that we've issued today, which ranges our organic growth from -3 to +3. The midpoint of that is essentially suggesting that it would be a flat top and bottom line year, so in line with the record year of 22. That we think is an okay outcome. And in that assumption, we're saying that, whatever macro we have currently doesn't get neither better or worse. It's going to be somehow similar to what we're experiencing now. The -3 would suggest that the macro worsens from where we stand today, and the top end of this guidance would suggest either the macro becomes a little bit better, or I should say, or some of the plans we have actually yield a little bit better than what we have in our kind of base assumptions. So that's kind of globally how we look at it. Now, the tricky thing, which I think has happened in the last 2 years, is that the macro and the macro conditions country by country actually vary. So there are different drivers of what's going on in the macro. So if I look at, for instance, the US, I've had quite some different drivers with first the stimulus checks back in 21, and now then we had kind of the resetting. I'm talking about our category specifically. And of course, towards, inside 22, then we had interest rate hikes and mortgage rate hikes and inflation going up. Of course, that was not part of our kind of base plan. I think that, going into this year, as I said, the kind of midpoint of our range would suggest that things don't get neither worse or better than from where we stand today. That, I don't have a crystal ball on what happens with the macro, but that's kind of how we're thinking about it.
Now, you've got a lab-created business, Diamonds by Pandora, which you've launched. How big a part of the business can this ultimately be?
So I can't answer that. What I can say is, if you look at the total jewelry market, it's something around $250 billion in size globally. Out of that, roughly 80 to 90 is diamonds. And out of that 80 to 90 today, roughly 10% is the lab-created space. So you're talking about a $9 billion global market size, which actually is growing at a rather good clip. Our aim is to take a reasonable chunk of that space. Exactly where that's going to lead me to, we don't really know. So far, we're off to a good start. We have a very good traction. Consumers are really interested in kind of our concept. So it's not just the fact that it's lab created, but also the value proposition and actually the marketing concept and the store experience. So I think we're looking at this as a quite interesting growth tangent for the future. But putting an exact number on it today, I think it's premature, to be honest with you.
What's very interesting, though, is that it seems to be attracting a different type of customer than from your existing clientele.
Well, roughly half of the customers that we have in UK and US, which are the two only markets so far, are new to Pandora, or at least they haven't transacted with Pandora in the last 12 months. The other half are my existing customers. So in a way, I'm happy because the whole idea was to offer a great proposition to my existing customer base. We have a lot of customers in our kind of network globally. The fact that it's also attracting, a fair amount of new people to the Pandora franchise is fantastic. We have more people reconsidering our brand as a consequence of the entry into the diamond space, for sure.
That was Alexander Lasic from Pandora speaking to me a little earlier. We're still to come here on Ian King Live. We're going to have a look at how the markets are doing this Wednesday morning. Don't go away.
And I'm Sky's correspondent based here in Washington, D.C.
Well, the plan seems to be to head to the police station where the policeman who fired the shots was based.
And everything, his memories is all gone.
I've witnessed the remarkable passion for politics here, but the anger too.
We have to get Trump out of the White House.
I'm playing devil's advocate.
You got your political agenda.
No, it's honestly...
God love you.
And beyond the United States, I report from around the world.
This is a town that is effectively encircled by the Russians.
We take you to the heart of stories that shape our planet.
I can hear now quite a few explosions in the distance here in Jerusalem.
What do you think of ISIS?
Everybody here, they know the truth of ISIS.
Welcome back. We're just going to break into the business news momentarily to bring you some live pictures. We think this is the plane that is carrying Ukraine's president, Mr. Zelensky, to Stansted Airport. He's arriving on a flight from Poland and he's due to head to Downing Street. It's his first visit to the UK since Russia invaded his country on the 24th of February last year. This is the plane. It's quite a big one, actually. We will obviously be carrying pictures of Mr. Zelensky when he arrives in Downing Street. Quite a big event, this. We gather that Mr. Zelensky is going to be speaking to Parliament later on at 1 o'clock our time. Other things that and other things he's going to be doing, we're told, is he's going to be going to the southwest of England, where he's going to be meeting Ukrainian troops who are training in the West Country. So not too sure how he's getting there. But the press are being advised they've got to get down there via Waterloo Station. So I'm assuming it's somewhere in the Exeter vicinity. The trains from Waterloo go to Exeter. Lovely journey, actually. You go right down through Dorset and Wiltshire. Here comes the plane. I think this is going to be taxiing into Stansted Airport imminently. Here we go. There we go. So that's President Zelensky safely landed at Stansted Airport. I hope I don't suppose he'll be getting the Stansted Express into Liverpool Street. It can be quite an unreliable service. I imagine he'll have his own way of making his way to Downing Street. So he'll be addressing MPs at 1 o'clock our time. You will see all of that here on Sky News, of course. Time for a look at the markets now, and the oil price has hit its highest level for a week following news of an unexpected fall in US crude inventories. A barrel of Brent crude will currently set you back $84.62 a barrel. That is up just over 1% on the session. On the equities market, well, Wall Street's strong showing last night was followed by a mixed session overnight in the Asia-Pacific region. Tokyo and Shanghai both finished lower. Hong Kong was flat. Mumbai, which is not on the screen, and Sydney both finished higher. Well, in Europe, it's been a positive session so far across continental Europe. Lots of company results out today. The main talking point, actually, is Equinor, the Norwegian oil and gas firm. Its shares are up 6.5% in Oslo, and that's after it reported a record operating profit of $74.9 billion. That is more than the combined profits of both BP and Shell for 2022. And speaking of records, look at the FTSE 100. It's up to a new all-time high right now, or it has been in the last hour or so. Currently some 0.75% high. It's a broad-based rally. BP, the leading gainer, up another 3% following its strong results yesterday. But as you can see on the screen, there are a few fallers. I mentioned Smurfit Kappa earlier on. The share's off 1.25% right now. That's after it warned of possible price reductions later this year, and that has dragged down its peers, DS Smith and Mondi, both of those in negative territory as well, in sympathy with Smurfit Kappa. Outside the FTSE 100, the industrial machinery maker Renault is up some 10%. That's after its annual results proved better than expected, while the bus and train operator First Group is ahead by 5.25% right now. That is after the acquisition of a bus operator was well received. But PZ Cussons, the Carex and Imperial Leather soap manufacturer, in the doldrums there. The share's off more than 6% now after its operating margins proved worse than expected. On the foreign exchange markets, well, the US dollar's been on the back foot following comments last night from Jay Powell, the Federal Reserve Chair. Sterling ahead by 0.2% right now against the dollar. It's also up 1/5% against the euro. Meanwhile, the single currency is 1/5% higher against the greenback. Well, joining me this morning is Hay Bathgate. He's head of investments at Atomos. Hey, good to see you. Let's start with Jay Powell, because he didn't really say anything that we haven't heard before, and yet it got a real reaction.
Yeah, he didn't really say much, but I suppose the interesting thing was seeing the rebound in technology, interest rate sensitive shares. So the market is basically reading him to say, I think, that he is going to look at the data, and the data, as he said, is softening. We've had six months of reduced inflation in a row. He keeps saying he's going to have to keep increasing rates higher than the market expects. But we all know that the central banks will pivot as and when the data changes, and I think the market is starting to look through that now.
Yeah, you'd normally expect that to be a trigger for a sell-off there, but...
Yeah, well, this is the interesting thing, isn't it? Because if they do increase interest rates and the economy does slow and we get a soft landing, it's a sort of Goldilocks scenario. So we don't want too much of a recession, we don't want interest rates rising too high, but if we get somewhere in the middle, which seems to be the consensus, then that's a good outcome for the economy and for markets.
Now, the FTSE obviously on another tear today. I guess BP is behind that. I mean, it's up another 3%. It finished up nearly 8% last night, which is just extraordinary for a stock of that nature.
Yeah, it's incredible. These sort of plodders, as we used to call them, that would churn out the dividends are actually leading the charge at the moment. Of course, the UK market is UK only in name. It's dominated by mining and resource companies. And of course, we've seen what's happened with oil and gas over the last year. On top of that, as governments are wanting to become less dependent on Russian gas for the transition to a cleaner economy, that brings some of the traditional companies back into the fold, so the BPs and the Shell. Whilst you want to transition away from those types of fossil fuels, you would rather do it with the companies that you know and trust rather than doing it with the Russians.
That's a busy day on continental Europe for results day. I mentioned Equinor, which is just an astounding set of numbers from them. But I mean, one that caught your eye was SocGen, which is obviously one of the big lenders in France.
Yeah, so SocGen, actually, their results were ahead of expectations. They had a reduction in profit. But I think what was really interesting is there's a 5-fold increase in the provision for bad debts. And this is the thing we've been waiting for. When do increase in interest rates start to feed through to the real economy? When does the consumer start to really suffer with the weight of debt that they're taking on? And it's quite interesting that we're getting an early warning signal from the banks that this is starting to happen now.
I mean, obviously, SocGen is very heavily oriented towards the French economy. Is there any read across here for some of the UK lenders?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's quite interesting. I mean, the metrics for Western economies are diverging at the moment. So there's not nearly as much of a squeeze on the US consumer at the moment. There is food price inflation, but they haven't had the squeeze in energy prices that we've seen in Europe. But in Europe, the UK, France, Germany, all the major Western economies are impacted by what we're seeing, which is a squeeze on the cost of living, and ultimately that will lead to an increase in bad debts at some point.
As we look ahead to the banking season over the next couple of weeks, which are the lenders that you're most going to be keeping an eye out for?
Yeah, well, I think what we're going to expect to see is this is a good environment for lenders, so we're going to see good results coming through generally. As interest rates are rising, it means that banks will make more money. But I think what we're looking for is just really, are we seeing this feed through to the real economy? Is that going to give us an early warning signal in terms of interest rates? Because of course, if banks are starting to see an increase in bad debt provisions, that probably calls a halt to the rate increase cycle much earlier than we're thinking.
All right, hey, good to see you this morning. Got to leave it there, I'm afraid. Thank you. There we go. Back to the breaking news. We saw Mr. Zelensky landing in Stansted Airport in Essex a few moments ago. Well, we've got a bit more news now on his itinerary while he's here in the United Kingdom, and it seems that the King is going to be holding an audience with President Zelensky later on today. That's just been released, that piece of news from Buckingham Palace. We'll have a lot more on Mr. Zelensky's visit to the UK throughout the morning here on Sky News. In the meantime, still to come here on Ian King Live. We're going to be discussing whether apprenticeships are the answer to plugging the shortage of construction workers in the UK. Stay tuned.
SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission-free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Star, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. Medasse.
Hi everyone, it's your girl BB Clement, the author of How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Are you looking for the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy door-to-door shipment company? Well, look no further. When was the last time your family received a shipment back in Ghana on time and in time? You are not sure? Well, Lamb Shippers, we pride ourselves with being the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy shippers you can use. You are assured of a prompt pickup anywhere in the UK by our personnel. They also make sure your items are well packaged to get to its destination in time. When it comes to door-to-door shipment, look no further. Well, Lamb Shippers, contact us on 07939009321 or 07498911820, or you can visit our website www.welllamp.co.uk. You can also drop us a mail, info@welllamp@gmail.com. Well Lamb Shippers, fast, reliable, and trustworthy.
Hi there. Are you dreaming of owning your own house in Ghana? Then you will need a well-documented piece of land that is free from troubles. I highly recommend My Africa Property for any size of land that you will need. With My Africa Property, lands are available in Prampram, Sopoli, Tohenia, Ogome, Dodova, Winneba, and many other locations at affordable prices. These locations are about an hour away from the airport, only 35 minutes from the motorway, 10 minutes drive from Central University College, 10 minutes drive to the beach, and close to Prampram Senior High School and Ghana Men's Soccer Center of Excellence. For more details, visit our website www.myafricaproperty.com or call our UK office on 0208 123 2523. For our US and Canada offices, call us on +1 585 184 994145. You can also email us at ghana@myafricaproperty.com.
Tune in to On Point here on Starr Radio UK with Empress Regina every Monday at 5 p.m. GMT. Looking forward to your company.
Check me out. He tells me my energy is making him tired.
Yes!
How do you get the energy to do
I've been told that I have a lot of energy, but my goodness, I think today I have met my match, people. I have met my match, Miss Suzanne. Wow, amazing.
One of the things that's the start of the darkness. The whole of darkness.
So what did that?
Myself and the world will adjust. And 2019.
Forget the proverbial boardroom. Join me, Simone Frazier, on The CEO, the program that gives you the driving seat over your life. Every Tuesday, 8 p.m. only on Starr Radio.
Getting onto the property ladder has never been easy until now. Join us this and every Thursday from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. live on the Property Hour show on Starr Radio UK, where we talk to mortgage brokers, property developers, estate agents, landlord, tenant, property consultants on how to invest or get into the property business and make money. You can't afford to miss this. The Property Hour show is your best source into the property industry.
Hi guys, this is your friend Uruj from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Star, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. Medace.
The best radio show.
Broadcasting live online. Turn it on. Turn it up.
Hi there, this is CJ Buckman, your life coach. And whenever I'm in London, I listen to Star Radio UK right here. But guess what? You can listen to wherever you are.
Body is your man. Bekutu, show them you got the cocoa set. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy Harrison, aka Mr. Songs. This is the Kingmaker Baba for the girls. We're here. This is Star Radio. Don't go nowhere. UK, London. We they call them London for home. For here, we they call them London. And that's how you know. Just have fun and stay blessed.
Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
In your car,
at work,
at home,
on your smartphone.
This is Star Radio UK. Are you ready to turn it up?
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Your heart is aching. Smile even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you get by. If you smile through your fear and sorrow, smile and maybe tomorrow you find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile. Hey, this is Archie and you are listening to Star Radio UK and the Morning Show.
This is Star Radio UK. Star Radio UK. This is Star Radio UK.
Welcome. Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
Enlighten your day with Star Radio.
This is Star Radio UK.
Star Radio. Radio for the people, by the people.
Love for you runs deep. All of you makes my heart beat. You make a doubt they fade. Jesus, and that's what makes you great. You hold the world in your hand.
And that is how I say a massive good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn to you wherever you might be on planet Earth. And those of you on other planets as well, salute each and every one of you. And once again, I say welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Morning Show. Today is the 8th day of the second month. That's February, the year 2023, with the time now 10:40 exactly. And of course, it is a Wednesday edition of the Morning Show. So let me say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn to all my lovely people from across the globe. To the team this morning, Miss Olayomi, Koiki, Kojo D, and my able producer, Mr. Francis Guy, in the house as well. I salute each and every one of you, and I say once again, welcome. But if you are listening to me via any of our platforms, whether on our apps or on the social media platforms, please share the broadcast with your friends and loved ones and invite them to like our pages. Playing the background, Great Are You Lord from Edith Morrison. Okay, as it is a Wednesday edition of the morning show, this is how the program is going to go. I'm going to bring you the quote for the day, and then the weather forecast will follow suit, then the travel update as well. Move on from there to have a look at some of the stories making the rounds across the globe, known as Global Trotting. Then from thence we continue. And that's what makes you. At 11 o'clock to have Mr. Olayomi Koiki, will be bringing you updates from Nigeria. You will never change. With the information that the TUC is telling Buhari. There's lots happening on that front. You are one. And then after that, at 11:30, the lines are open for you to add your voice to the discussions. We'll continue from there to take you to other parts of the world. But exactly at 12 o'clock, we bring the curtains down for the end of the first part of the program, where we'll be taking you to the House of Parliament for the Prime Minister's question time. Also, the President of Ukraine is in town, and therefore we'll be addressing Parliament, President Zelensky as well. We'll do our best to see whether we can capture that one for you. If not, for sure, tomorrow we can bring that your way. So that is it for the program outline. Let me say good morning to Bishop Adeshina, Pastor Momo, Anthony Adedeji, Aziz, good morning to you. Moyiwa, good morning. Sam Maxwell, good morning. Adekunle, good morning. And every one of you who joined us, especially those of you who listen to us from the African front, my goodness. I know it costs you an arm and a leg to actually just view us. It costs you that to get your data, but you do so religiously, and I pray that God will bless you indeed. So once again, welcome. Now let's move on straight to the quote for the day. It says, do not wait for opportunity to come before you start preparing. It is usually too late to do so. So how prepared are you for just in case some opportunity just breaks and comes your way? What would you do? How prepared are you? You are waiting for the millions to come your way, and then you said, okay, now let's plan what we're gonna do. My goodness. All right, and Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Now let's move on straight to love for you. The weather front. Let me tell you what is happening on the weather front here in London.
All of you makes my heart beat. You make a dawn fade, and that's what makes you great.
Okay, so when it comes to the weather front here in London and the southeast of England, yes, and you can share with us what is happening in your area. I can tell you assuredly that this afternoon we'll see any remaining mist and fog dissipate. There will then be plenty of winter sunshine. However, areas of high cloud may result in the sunshine being hazy at times. And tonight will be dry with clear skies. Towards dawn, a band of cloud will push in from the northwest, bringing the chance of some patchy bright light rain or drizzle. Temperature 8 degrees, the lowest -1. UV level moderate, pollution low. Sunset 17:02 and sunrise for tomorrow morning 07:28 hours. That brings us to the end of the weather forecast. It is all coming your way from Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Let's take a quick break and let me bring you the travel updates. Don't you go away. It is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Are you looking for the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy door-to-door shipment company? Well, look no further. When was the last time your family received a shipment back in Ghana on time and in time? You are not sure? Well, Lamb Shippers, we pride ourselves with being the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy shippers you can use. You are short of a prompt pickup anywhere in the UK by our personnel. They also make sure your items are well packaged to get to its destination intact. When it comes to door-to-door shipment, look no further. Well, Lamb Shippers, contact us on 07939009321 or 07498911820, or you can visit our website www.welllamb.co.uk. You can also drop us a mail, info@welllamb@gmail.com. Well Lamb Shippers, fast, reliable, and trustworthy. Okay, so keep your eyes on the roads, keep your eyes on the roads. I'll keep you navigated, I promise. I'm on the Starr Radio UK Travel Update. I come to every weekday from 10:40. It's now what? 10:46. How is your travel this morning? Okay, straight on the underground here in London, I can tell you assuredly, good service throughout, apart from the Northern Line. That's got minor delays between High Barnet and Camden Town, and between Finchley Central and Mill Hill East due to an earlier fire alert at Finchley Central. Good service on the rest of the line. When it comes to London Overground, good service, DLR good service, but the London Tram Link has got some issues there. For Wednesday 8 until Sunday the 19th of February, no service between Therapia Lane and Wimbledon. Replacement buses will be operating between Warden Marsh and Wimbledon, calling at Amber Way, Therapia Lane, Bennington Lane, Mitcham Junction, Mitcham Belgrave Walk for Phipps Bridge, and Morden Road for Dundonald Road. Use Wimbledon. I'm moving on straight to the major roads in London. This is what is happening there. A few incidents here and there. Now, A10, A4, A41, Blackwall Tunnel, Central London Red Route, North Circular, A406, South Circular, A205 have all got closures. And then A20 and A21 has got serious delays. So, as I will say, if you can avoid it, do your best to do so. But this one coming your way from Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. And we continue with it, moving on straight to the river bus this morning. And what is happening on the river bus this morning? Now, apart from the Woolwich ferry that is suspended due to poor visibility and foggy conditions, all the others have got good service there. Now, the London cable car has got good service there as well. Now, moving on to the final segment of the travel update, that's the National Rail. This is what is happening on that front. So, on the National Rail, Great Western Railway, Island Line, Scott Rail, and South Western Railway have all got minor delays. Also, Transport for Wales has got minor delays. That aside, all the others have got good service. So, on that note, as I will say all the time, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn to you wherever you might be on planet Earth. Enjoy your commute for today. But you know what? Continue to keep those eyes on the roads.
Hi guys, this is your friend Uruj from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission-free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Star, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. Medasse.
Girl BB Clement, the author of How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur, and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business, but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Welcome back to the program Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London on the Wednesday edition of the morning show. Let me say good morning to my brother Felix all the way in Aberdeen. I hope you are doing very, very well, Felix. And to Dr. Morton, good morning to you. Mr. Kofi Ali Abdul Yakin, good morning to you. And to Mr. Emmanuel. My apologies, Ebenezer Hammond, Emmanuel Ghana, greetings to you. Ebenezer Hammond in Cape Town, South Africa, I salute you. Chantel, good morning to you and all you guys in that office. Hey, I hope you are doing good. All right, then, good morning to you all. All right, then, now let's crack on to some of the stories making the rounds in other parts of the world. That is, as you know, I would say, global trotting. Now, in the Naira crisis, the ICPC have discovered 258 million naira new banknotes hidden in a vault of Abuja Bank. International Center for Investigation reporting on that. And that's quite an interesting one. I'm going to be looking at that. NNPC promises to end fuel scarcity as Lagos, Kano, others get 450.92 million liters. Would that suffice them? MFL assures CBN will not frustrate the 2023 election to make cash available for INEC. Well, making cash available for INEC. What about the individuals who need their money back? Well. And then some other stories that Mr. Olayomi Koiki has posted that we're going to be looking at that. Supreme Court spitfire. CBN, you can't ban old Naira notes. Oh my goodness. And then despite insecurity, census will be held. That's what the NSA is saying. When I hold the census, because even the election, I'm still going to be panning out. But so today, the 8th, means that we got 17 days more for the election, because the election is supposed to take place on the 25th. So, you know what is going to happen? We'll be telling you more about that as well. Naira crisis may disrupt polls. INEC warns MFLA, but MFLA is saying that, you know what? Nothing is going to happen. I'm going to make sure I release funds to you, INEC. But what about the people who need money to travel the length and breadth of the country? To those, especially the students who are on campus, who want to go back home to go and vote, go and take their PVCs and go and vote, which they've not gotten as yet. Some of them, let's say that they've not gotten as yet. What happens on that front? Well. It is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Lots more are going to be coming your way from that front. It's all coming your way from Starr Radio UK. Now, when it comes to other parts of the world as well, Turkey's Erdogan visits quake regions as anger grows over rescue speed. Now, families in some badly hit areas have complained about a slow response and say they have had no help to dig through ruins to find their relatives. And how many days now on? Call it 3 days on, and the chances of finding life is very, very slim. But yesterday, after the program, I remember Felix sending me some pictures of some hope where some people have been salvaged or recovered, from the ruins there. So, keeping fingers crossed and still trusting, depending on which particular part these individuals are logged in, they should be somehow able to come out. And the Ukrainian city on borrowed time as Russia closes in is one of the stories. Russian forces have tried to claim Bakhmut for 6 months and are now attacking from 3 sides. Is the story making the rounds there? Okay, and then some other stories making the rounds. Harry and Meghan to be questioned in civil case. The Duchess, her sister, says Meghan falsely, maliciously said she was an only child. So if Meghan says she was an only child, well, if you're my sister, fine. I decide that I am an only child. What's wrong with that? Everybody wants to be chopping, and as the Ghanaians will say, chopping something from somewhere. So that's what seems to be going on. LeBron James breaks NBA all-time scoring record. He becomes the NBA's all-time leading scorer passing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar 39 years old record. Well. Good luck and to him, and well, congratulations to him as well. On the African front, now 3 protesters killed in an attack on a UN convoy in DRC. It's one of the stories making the rounds. And some mummies that have been found says the secrets of 2,300-year-old golden boy mummy revealed by CT scans using 21st century computed tomography scans. Researchers at Cairo University avoid damaging the well-preserved remains of a 14-year-old boy. And you look at it from here, it is quite an interesting piece there. I wish you could see it. But for this time around, I'm the one seeing it. What about that? Now, African leaders send condolences to Turkey, Syria over devastating earthquake. Is that all they can do? Tell me that, well, their own backyard, they are hungry brothers. What can they do? The Senegalese civil society group files complaints after billions lost to misuse of COVID funds. And then UNESCO settles Jollof war between Ghana, Senegal, and Nigeria. Well, I'm going to tell you more about it. It's quite an interesting. Whoever went there, whether they trying to get a copyright for the jollof rice. Because the other time I was watching a documentary, and some were claiming that jollof rice came from Senegal. But when it comes to Ghana and Nigeria, Ghana says that their jollof rice is nicer and more yummier than that of Nigeria. Nigerians say, no way. Yes, they think that there's, but we'll be bringing you more on that front as well when it comes to the jollof rice contest. All right then. Now let's move on to some other stories making the rounds. Now the DDEP government grants 3-day administrative window for bondholders to complete processes. Now the individuals have said that they don't want to be involved. It says that the government has announced an administrative window for bondholders to complete processes for tendering their bonds. A statement issued by the Ministry of Finance and signed by the Sector Minister Kenofori Atta said the window ends at 4 p.m. on Friday, February 10, 2023. According to the statement, the extension of the window is as a result of technical challenges experienced by some bondholders as they try to complete their online tender process. It is believed that a sudden rush for bondholders to sign up to the deadline place a strain on the IT infrastructure. Now, the statement explained that the timetable of the exchange remains unaffected except for the announcement date, which is now Monday, February 13. It's all coming away from Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Okay. Now, moving on to one other story. Well, individual bondholders don't want to be under government oppression with new bonds. And that is what Senior Hosi, who seems to be one of the advocates for bondholders in Ghana, is saying. I will bring you more on that front in jiffy. But for now, let's go take some musical break. And then once we come back, we'll be having Miss Olayomi Koiki joining in. There is lots more happening. Will the elections hold in Nigeria? It's a question on the lips of most people. But you want to know more? Stay tuned and don't touch the dial. It is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. This is from the new song, and it says, "Smile, my brother, smile."
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, and my sister smile as well. Now let me balance it. I don't want trouble, Abby.
All right, TNS, let me hear you sing.
online 24/7.
Even though the day belongs, still smile. Thrill many of
Oh, yes, now. I'm more than a rich man. A nice tune this morning from TNS. And it is Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. And led by the late Daniel Toffe. It's all Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London on Wednesday morning. 4 minutes past the top of the hour. So what do you reckon is going to take place? Yes, I have the singular honor of welcoming the one and only and still the White Lion, Mr. Olayomi Koiki on Yomi. Good morning to you.
A very good morning to you back in the studio, Mr. Archie. Good morning to all our beautiful listeners and those that are joining us from around the globe. And we welcome you once again to the Wednesday edition, a very rounding, before we go to the PMQ where it gets very hot. But again, good morning to you, Archie. Good morning, Frank. Good morning to all our presenters. And we appreciate those that have joined us on our sister broadcast, where we are also streaming along with the Starr Radio UK this morning.
Yes, we salute each and every one of you. And as I said earlier on, we know that especially those of you in Africa, it costs you an arm and a leg to buy the data to listen to us. But and view us, you do it religiously, and we are so appreciative. Yes, Thank you very, very much. Okay, now, well, today is the 8th, and therefore 17 days. Do you think the election is going to hold? Looking at the fuel scarcity, looking at the naira scarcity, and looking at what was going on yesterday, I saw some videos that have gone viral where some banks were being, I think people were pursuing their bankers or breaking things in front of the banks and stuff like that. But information coming through says that a bank in Abuja has been found to have as much as 285 million naira. What is all that about?
Well, these are the money that ends up in the hands of the POS. Remember that those operating the POS also have insider. So I mean, like we've been explaining most of the time, the reason why I had opportunity, and as I speak to you right now, in Ibadan, in Akure, in Lagos, most banks are shut down. But as I speak to you right now, with the with the live feed that I'm right in front of me right now from Lagos State, there's a lot of tension right now building up in Lagos State. We've not seen what we have saw in Abeokuta yesterday, and where the police officer shot into a young man. But I can confirm that he's taking treatment as we speak right now. We condone all kind of violence, but one thing we can always say is when there is a protest, there is always a tension. A bank was raised down in Abeokuta in Shapon, the first bank. But what we are saying that a lot of the banks are also harboring the money, and this is what a lot of Nigerians don't understand. I mean, these are money that is meant to be outside, be disbursed to just as we were listening to the Ogun State governor yesterday. He has also released a statement, telling the citizen in Abeokuta, especially the youth, to calm down. They are doing everything as quickly as possible, to bring the situation under control. But what we do see is, not just in Abuja, in Oshogbo, the wrap of the money was not removed, was put into the ATM, and that means those outside are trying to withdraw money, and the money is not coming out, and yet the bank debit their account, and there's no money. And sometimes when that happens in Nigeria, it might take 30 days before you can get the money back. So you can see that the pressure keeps building. But like I said, it is not just in Abuja, it is also happening across the country where some banks continue not to disburse that money. Is it now a deliberate act to disrupt the election? So many people are now talking, even the Nigerian Labour Congress president have also have also put mouth into the situation, and naira and petrol scarcity, President Muhammadu Buhari has pushed Nigerians to the wall.
He's put them to the wall. Has it put them too far now? Are they going to bounce back? And how is it going to be for the nation as a whole? But it's all coming away from Starr Radio UK. The Supreme Court is restraining the federal government from enforcing the naira deadline, because now the people cannot get access to the bank. They cannot get their monies out, and some of them still have their monies. And if the deadline now that would have been 2 days time, they are not able to put that money into the bank. That means whatever money that you have, whatever it is, you've lost it. Now the Supreme Court has ruled that way. So what do you think is going to happen? Are they going to still continue with it? Because we know that they don't respect any rule of law per se or ruling from the courts.
Well, it's not just the Supreme Court. That Supreme Court stopped the old naira note deadline implementation. What do we know? The Supreme Court today temporarily halt the move by the federal government of President Muhammadu Buhari government through the Central Bank of Nigeria, to ban the use of the old naira note from February 10, which is 2 days, like you say. A 7-member panel that was led by Justice John Okoro halt the federal government plan in a ruling in an ex parte application that was brought by 3 northern states of the Kaduna, Kogi, and Zamfara. The report that the February 10 deadline for the currency swap that was announced by the Central Bank of Nigeria PT Governor Nasiru El-Rufai of Kaduna, the Yaya Bello Governor Kogi State, and Bello Matawa of Zamfara against 14 political parties which are now threatening to boycott the February 25th election should the CBN extend the time limit. Some want it to be extended, but some do not want it to be extended. This as the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory is now restraining President Major General Muhammadu Buhari, retired, and the CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele, and 27 commercial banks from suspending, stopping, extending, or interfering with the currency swap terminal date. Also, the IMF has also, come into the conversation. New Naira note, the International Monetary Fund advises the CBN to extend the February 10 deadline. According to the International Monetary Fund, today canceled the Central Bank of Nigeria to extend the February 10 deadline of swapping of the old Naira notes with the real design of the new ones. We have seen it and we have talked about it across the world. El Rufai was referring to Saudi Arabia, that even up to today, some of the old Naira note, some of their old currency that is circulating, you probably get a new one when you put in the old one into the, either you are buying something from the shop, they will not give you the old one back, but you get a new one as a change. But in Nigeria, it seems everything is becoming rush, and it's becoming a lot of pressure. As I speak to you, Akure, currently there's a protest where the students have come out, and as I'm getting another feed right now, which is currently coming from Lagos State. And let's just see if we can just get a little bit of sound just under a minute, because I know Wednesday edition we'll have more discussion later on during the the Niger Voices. But let us hear from one of our correspondents, working with our sister radio back in Nigeria this morning. Let's hear what they have to say. So what we are witnessing. Okay, that broadcast has ended, but let's go back to. So I can tell you right now, in Akure, there's a lot of police, but the road are blocked, and you can hear the protesters are out on the road. While I was listening to some of them, the commissioner for police has already arrived there. He has had a conversation with them. Yes, they have the right to protest, but what they are avoiding to say is, do not damage government property or private property, which again we don't condone from this part of the globe as well. But one thing is, we do know that when it comes to protest, it could become violent, and the reason is, as the Nigerian Labour Congress says, Nigerians have been pushed to the wall concerning getting their own hard-earned money in the bank, buying fuel at the filling station, and this is now becoming quite alarming. Starr Radio UK, it is your finest African and Caribbean radio station in London. And the engineer is going to be changing the background. As you can see right there, this is what Nigerians are facing this morning as they are trying to get money and the petrol in Nigeria today.
Now, in this part of the world, when there are strikes, even when there are roadblocks, they are able to assess and tell you that, look, it's cost the economy maybe something million or maybe 1 billion. Has the government, the federal government, have they actually evaluated what damage they are doing to the economy at the moment of Nigeria?
Well, I'm not sure the government is concerned about, whatever the economy damage. I mean, they couldn't talk, with the Biafra that have done sit at home for almost 1 year, going to 2 years, and that is having a big economic impact. Remember that, you need that route for those that are moving goods and services, and when the roads are blocked with the plight of the bad roads that you have, sometimes your goods might end up becoming a month or two. That means that there's always, Monday sit at home is always having another Monday coming, and the pressure continue. And when you estimate what the Southeast is losing every Monday is in the tune of, millions of naira. But what we are witnessing right now in UK, the teachers were on strike last week and they went back to school the next day. But what we are seeing in Nigeria is this is a continuous one, and the economic impact of it will have a damaging one for the federal government of Nigeria.
Wow, listen to Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Mr. Olayomi, Koiki in our North London studios. I'm actually here in the South studios, and we're looking at updates from Nigeria. Now, Yomi, one other thing is, now when it comes to the markets where people are trading, okay? Now, so what currency are they trading in? Are the markets functioning? Because if I'm going to bring you the old Naira, you're going to tell me, no, I'm not going to take that, because if I take that, I cannot have the chance to take you to the bank. And therefore, if you don't have the new Naira to come and buy something, that means that you cannot buy anything or eat. Is that what is happening?
Well, some have been trying to do what they call, transfer. But the problem is, Yeah, bank transfer. So you can literally transfer. I mean, you know, even as small as buying a bread or beans or whatever, you can do a transfer. But let's give an example. That means that if one of my family member is sick, I've sent the money home, and then you know, they have to get to the hospital. The hospital doesn't take the transfer. Then what happened? This is another big problem that is being faced in the medical sector, because some people are saying that even if you have to do transfer, you have to put the extra into it, because when they are withdrawing the money as well, they would have to pay extra as well.
Well, I think that the central government has to do something about this digitization of the currency, so that people, I mean, you don't necessarily need to have liquid cash in your hand, but more of just having a card or just using your phone. Or like in Ghana, they have the Momo and all stuff. You can just go there and just use that to buy or do the trading.
M-Pesa has worked very well, I think, in Kenya. But what we've not been able to do is, you know, take advantage of the technology. And for you to do so, you need to have also built, you know, the platform. The platform has to be there, you know, and when the platform is there, it can be used easily. So it's not like, moving money around. You know, it's something that M-Pesa has done. I believe that is Kenya, if I'm right. But Nigeria should have also taken advantage of it, especially with the human capacity that we have. The young man I spoke to yesterday that is doing a POS had to spend a lot of money to even withdraw a little bit that he's going to sell back as well. And not just alone, he finished in 2010 with 2.1 as a geologist, but there's no job since 2010. Then rather than stealing, he ended up becoming a POS man.
Well, listeners, Starr Radio UK, the problem of Africa. Now, MFLA is saying that, look, I'm going to make sure I release the Naira for the INEC to, I mean, take or do the election, okay, to undertake the elections. But the question is, it's not the INEC per se that needs the money. The people who need their money so that they can even go to the various places or have the mind to even think of going to vote. So that statement that has come from MFLA, how do Nigerians taking it that they're going to make sure that INEC has money to do because INEC is saying that they might not be able to hold the elections if they don't get money.
Well, NNPC has guaranteed INEC, you know, to say that we will be there to make sure that, you know, the money is available. I mean, the petrol is available to move your logistics. You know, the Nigerian Air Force is saying that they are available to help as well. Naira crisis may disrupt the poll. INEC is now warning the CBN governor and NSA. What do we know this morning? With just about 16 days to one of the most important country in the globe today, you know, the most populous Black African country around the world. Nigeria is much well discussed and talked about because we have Nigerians all over the world. Even the only place that I'm not sure is maybe in the moon presently, but we have some engineers that are working with NASA that are Nigerians as well. So Nigeria are all over the world, in Africa, in Europe, in Asia. But Nigeria in 16 days is going into a general election, and they are now strong indication, according to the INEC chairman, that the new Naira note scarcity may disrupt the exercise. Could this be part of the plan that we have been saying that election will be cancelled? We don't know, but whoever brought the idea of this scarcity, I mean, this new redesigned colored Naira note that we have been talking about, maybe is part of the plan to disrupt the whole election itself. Even within the political party of the APC, they are not pleased that this is when this is currently going on, especially with the forced scarcity that is going on. Adding that in 16 days, he explained that many service providers to INEC had no bank account. He therefore solicited the support of the Apex Bank to address the concern related to the CBN cash withdrawal policy, which had caused chaos across the country today. Starr Radio UK, it is your finest African and Caribbean radio station in London, as we continue to monitor the situation of things in Nigeria this morning.
Well, the 25th of February will be approaching pretty soon. Will the election take place or not? Adax Breaker, good morning. Said, good morning, my people. In a sane country, elections can be held with the current situation. Only my people can go out to vote. With the insecurity going on around the country. So he reckons that even when the Naira circulation is done and everything, insecurity is a major factor as to whether people are going to go out to go and vote or not. What do you think? Let us hear from you. But it's all Starr Radio UK. We'll go to Yomi for some of the other stories making the rounds. Over to you, Yomi.
So we just about 10 minutes to put everything together. But later on tonight, be rest assured that Starr Radio UK will be giving you on Niger Voices everything you need to know. In 16 days, are we still guarantee of an election in Nigeria? And if that election is going to come true, does that literally also mean that it would be free and fair? Especially with so many of the indigenous people in the Biafra that are rejecting this election, as we know. So let's talk quickly on some of the remaining headlines that we have this morning on Starr Radio UK. Once again, if you've just joined us, nobody can say what would happen to Nigeria if I don't become president. This is Peter Obi. So Peter Obi says if we get it wrong, nobody can tell what will happen. In all I am doing, I will always wish Nigeria the best. Mr. Obi stressed. So he's probably preparing that should he not win, nobody knows what will be the end of Nigeria, according to the message coming from Peter Obi and his vice president, presidential aspirant this morning. From the headline that we have, nobody knows what will be the end of it should we not become the next president. Peter Obi, the presidential flag bearer on the platform of the Labour Party, says he wishes Nigeria well, but expressed concern about what would happen next to Nigeria if it loses the February 25th presidential election. A large turnout of voters at the poll would pave the way for Mr. Obi's victory, but with the current situation of things, according says a poll that was conducted by the Nigerians. You remember we've been talking about the poll. So according to the poll that was conducted by Nigeria's data intelligence provider, Starr, describing the Labour Party standard bearer as Nigeria's most popular presidential candidate. Next year, an African-focused consultant firm also predicted that the ex-Anambra governor will win in February. According to the Labour Party standard bearer, the presidential poll is an essential election, and he urged everyone to be involved. If we get it wrong, nobody can tell what would happen. So that is coming from Peter Obi this morning. Let's go straight. Police and army will protect voters during the general election, according to the NSA, the Nigerian security advisor Mongono. It is very important that Nigerians are not pushed to the limit where they will abandon their number one responsibility, as we know. But it seems that Nigerians probably are not trusting the government that they will be protected at the polling unit. I was in Nigeria in 2019 on behalf of Starr Radio UK, but what we saw is Nigerian security, Nigerian police, Nigerian civil defense could not protect Nigerians in most part of the southwest where election was rigged, election was disrupted, ballot unit was burnt, and individuals were killed as well. But Babagana Mongono, the national security advisor to President Muhammadu Buhari, has assured Nigerians that February 25th, March 11 elections will be peaceful. How that is going to be peaceful, we would have to wait. But Mongono gave the assurance during his meeting with the Independent National Electoral Commission that in 16 days from today, the presidential election will be free and fair. We're going to take one more, take us straight to the social media, where we're going to be looking at what is trending on the social media as well. Kaduna Kano residents seek open trial of a cleric, rulers hating bandit. Imagine, a cleric has now become part of those that are also keeping, the terrorists as well. Residents have called for the open trial of a traditional and religious leaders that have been accused colluding with the terrorists and other criminal bandits, according to what we know. So let's go straight to the social media. More Nigerians are crying, and like I said, Yoruba Global Youth, one of those that are fighting for the right of the Yoruba people on the social media, also say, this is Ghana. The same Ghana must go. This interchange was built in less than 3 years. So he's actually comparing this very beautiful interchange. I'm sure you probably know that interchange, Mr. Archie. He's comparing that to some of those interchange that could have been doing the same thing in Nigeria, but it's not working. Peter Okoye is a musician known as a P-Square. I'm sure you've listened to his music. He's actually supporting, Peter Obi. My late father was nobody, but today everyone knows the Okoyes. Dudu, try removing Kuti from your name. Make I know whether anybody sabi you. Remain in that your local shrine while people like us and others continue excelling globally. You can't shame us. I believe it's probably, talking to somebody that is probably relating to the Fela Kuti or Burna Boy, according to what I've listened to a little bit from that trend in the last few hours already before coming on air. It seems that Burna Boy and is going through a lot. They advised me to believe in APC again. They advised me to believe in APC again. After 8 years of waste of time, resources and property and life. Ojo Abo Leni. So that is coming from Omo Orumila Kitibawa. So a lot of people are using social media. Biafra is fast coming, no matter the propaganda of the West to continue to enslave us. Using the Nigerian government, it can never work anymore. We can't validate Nigeria election again in Biafra land. I beg of you, Biafrans, don't be a victim of Nigeria terrorists in uniform. Don't come out on the election day. Countdown to Biafra is now 25 days to go home. Woto Promax, the zoo on a free fall, is coming from Frank on the Frank11718 on Twitter. So let's now look at some of the other things that is trending. According to the Newswire, the Supreme Court of Nigeria has restrained the federal government from implementing the February 10 deadline of the 200 naira and the 1,000 naira. So maybe some might not know what it looks like with the old currency. Let's give you a kind of a image of that for the benefit of those that are watching. So this is what it used to look like before it was now changed to this is the new look as we have it right now. So you can see why people say it's color coded. So now let's take more. Again, quite a lot of messages is coming. More people are being trained how to make use of the voting system as well. Also, in a bank, people are now taking a gas cylinder and they are preparing noodles. Men are sitting down in front of it. So according to Simon Ekpa, when I told you that February everything will happen, this is a general market, and I have picked 2 cards and about to check up on Nigeria. But meanwhile, enjoy the general market with the last card. We'll probably see if we can bring this video during the Niger Voices, but I can tell you that men are eating Indomie noodles right inside the bank. In under 1 minute, Oseni Rufa is one of the journalists on the ground in Nigeria working for one of the mainstream media. Join me in prayer for a peaceful election. Prayer point: the will of the Lord will be done. We shun evil and every device of the enemy to hamper election in Jesus' name. Let us pray. So I'm not sure if people agree in the line of that. Idore is part of the Southwest, is a kingdom. A very beautiful view is being projected here by Yoruba Atlan. As more Yorubas are saying that the right to self-determination should not, be trampled by the current system that we have. Think Yoruba for say, do you know that the Yoruba are the school and center of learning before contact with the Europeans? The effort of Ile-Ife to standardize and control the intellectual capital of Ifa definition bore the fruit. And that is all about say, Naira scarcity is trending this morning, and the federal government is trending, and there's no way the federal government cannot be trending, especially with what Nigerians are facing at the present time in Nigeria today, the 8th of February 2023. This is Starr Radio UK as we monitor the situation of things. Once again, this is the new Naira note, but this is what it used to look like prior before the color change of the 500 Naira, the 200 Naira, and the 1,000 Naira, which is one of the most bigger domination being used by an average Nigeria this morning.
Wow. Yomi has showed you everything, the old one and the new one. But which one do you have in your pocket now? Are you yet to get it? Or what are you doing? Well, listeners, Starr Radio. Adax Breaker says the people you're going to vote for have heavy security guards. Now, what about you, the voters? Are you safe to vote? Think about think about that and make your own decision. The country is not safe to go out and vote. And he continued to say, with a reference to the one saying that somebody should take the Kuti name from his name and see whether he will be recognized by anybody. He said the person was talking to or addressing Sean Kuti. Okay then.
Okay, Shehu Kuti.
Shehu Kuti. Okay.
Yeah, I thought as much. Yeah, I thought as much.
Yeah. Okay. Listen, let's start already. Okay. Now, Yomi. One other thing that I wanted us to look at is the polls. The polls that the latest polls still putting Peter Obi in the lead, and it looks like, because when the polls get it wrong, okay. We have a tendency that people, even if the election was fair, people will call it foul because they reckon that maybe looking at the margins between maybe the first person and the second person, they look at it and say, even if there's an error in the margins, the person should lead a bit. But for us to say that, maybe like the statement of Peter Obi is saying that, well, if you decide not to vote for me, just think about what is going to happen. I'm not sure what is going to happen to Nigeria next. People will now be thinking, so if they do something saying that they're going to have a free and fair election, and that free and fair doesn't actually materialize as free and fair, and Peter Obi, who is in the lead, actually doesn't see the actualization, what happens? Are we going to see a backlash from the Obi camp?
Well, I mean, in life, you've got to prepare for everything. So I believe that Peter Obi is just putting it out there in time, just as we saw Jonathan allow the winner to automatically become coming true by making that phone call in 2015, because the tension then was that Jonathan, the ruling party, was not going to hand over power, and we saw how things were played. Obama, sending the Secretary of State then to Nigeria, so it also favored the APC as at that time. But as of now, we are not seeing the same thing, but we are seeing more question around if election goes as planned and the result doesn't favor the Labour Party, and millions of Nigerians that are falling in love with this idea of Peter Obi, are they going to wait for the next 8 years or 4 years again and come back just as Trump might be coming back, or are we going to see the situation of things where it will eventually mean that whatever they were thinking did not happen, or are we going to see challenges of court case that might probably mean that some part of Nigeria, Peter Obi needs the large number, but he also needs about 25%. We did a breakdown some few weeks ago. But one thing is, more Nigerians prefer them compared to the two old gladiators that we've known in the past.
Wow. Listeners, it's Starr Radio UK. Sorry, I was monitoring some events going on in number 10 Downing Street, where normally from time to time we have Mr. Olayomi Koiki going live there to report as well. And I can tell you that the Ukrainian leader has arrived at number 10 Downing Street to meet the Prime Minister, and after that I'll be meeting the King as well. But let's keep your fingers crossed, and as somebody said, we have to pray for the elections so that we make the right choice. Are we going to make the right choice? What is the right choice there? Who is the best candidate? And are we going to see that your vote, as Adax Breaker is saying, that the insecurity and everything that is going on, you managed to get through that and go and vote, and the person that you voted for did not win? How would you feel? All right then. Yomi, yes, so what are we looking at this evening?
So the impact of the forced scarcity was the discussion that we were looking prior before, but now we're now looking at the impact that is having on the Naira itself. So we're going to be reviewing the forced scarcity, the Naira scarcity. Are we now seeing Nigerians being pushed, that they are now coming out as compared to keeping quiet and doing nothing? So we're going to be discussing all that. So we're going to be looking at the Naira and the forced scarcity, the impact on Nigerians. Are Nigerians being pushed? Are we going to see everything dissolve in time before the 16 days that we are now on the countdown?
Well, 16 days on, what will happen? Yomi, let me say thank you very much, and you have a wonderful afternoon, and we'll catch up later.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye. Well, listeners, that has been Mr. Olayomi Koiki bringing you updates from Nigeria. It is Star Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Bringing the time now to exactement 11:35. We take a quick break, and once we come back, we continue with the show. So don't touch the dial. Stay tuned. I am Archie.
Hi guys, this is your friend Uruj from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission-free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Star, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. Medasse.
Well, the younger man is asking the question, where is the dollar? But this time around, we are asking the question, where is the naira? Person, the naira is sitting in some banks. Some people are hoarding it. What do they want to do with it? Well, with the ruling of the Supreme Court, what do you think is going to happen? But as Yomi said, we're going to be looking tonight at the impact of the scarcity of the naira and the fuel on Nigerians. And that program will be exactly at 18 hours GMT. And it's all coming away from Starr Radio UK. It's a disgrace. And as I did say, we're taking you straight to some of the stories making the round this morning. But just bear with me whilst we do so.
Bananas to give to monkey. Hey, hey, hey. Give gorilla bananas to give to monkey. Yourself you know. Him no go see banana. Banana, him no go see banana. Monkey no go see banana, banana, he no go see banana.
All right. Well, Nigerians decided to share some nairas, which is equivalent. Everybody should get some. Those who have their own. Yet, now some people are not getting it. Where is the naira? You want to know more? Make sure you make a date with Mr. Olayomi Koiki. He's going to be telling you about the impact of the fuel shortage and or scarcity, the fuel and the naira scarcity, how it's impacting Nigerians as a whole, and as what our election is going to hold with all that in the background. What do you think? Now let's move on. I'll be bringing you that in a moment. Some of the stories making the rounds this morning pertaining to the arrival of the Ukrainian leader here in London to meet the Prime Minister. So wherever you are, don't touch the dial. Now, moving on straight to some other stories making the rounds this morning. Let's start it from the Ghana front. Now, the government grants 3-day administrative window for bondholders to complete processes. Now, the story says the government has announced an administrative window for bondholders to complete processes for tendering their bonds. A statement issued by the Ministry of Finance and signed by the sector minister, Kenneth Riata, said the window ends at 4 p.m. on Friday, February 10, 2023. According to the statement, the extension of the window is as a result of technical challenges experienced by some bondholders as they try to complete the online tender process. It is believed that a sudden rush for bondholders to sign up close to the deadline places a strain on the IT infrastructure. Now, the statement explained that the timetable of the exchange remains unaffected except for the announcement date, which is now Monday, February the 30th. According to the settlement of exchange remains, accordingly, the settlement of exchange remains the scheduled date of Tuesday, the 14th of February 2023, except as set forth in this paragraph, the terms and conditions of the exchange are not modified or amended, he added. The statement reminded bondholders who could not complete the process to visit the website of Central Securities Depository, www.csd.com.gh.dde, to complete the process. Mr. Furiata also took the opportunity to thank bondholders who have so far tendered their bonds. But how do you, with everything that is going on, now under the improved offer, all individual bondholders who are below the age of 59 years, category A, are being offered instruments with a maximum maturity of 5 years instead of 15 years and 10% and a 10% coupon rate. Now, all retirees, including those retiring in 2023 and in category B, are being offered instrument with a maximum maturity of 5 years instead of 15 years and a 15% coupon rate. Now, the question is, if somebody is is it? I mean, the older people. So let's say 80, 85. Now, will the person last the next 5 years to actually have be able to be making something from that money that that bond that is bought? The finance ministry minister yesterday said that the objective of this is to ensure that individuals, especially the retirees who put their hard-earned savings in the domestic market, are not left in the hardship as a result of the DDEP and yet contribute to the resolution of the current crisis. And who caused those crises? They're going to say, well, you know what? Is what I was going to say Brexit is the COVID and the Ukrainian war. He said government was intentional in pushing the threshold of what is possible in order to safeguard the well-being of our pensioners, preserve the savings of individuals, protect the working capital of businesses, ensure the health and stability of our financial sector, and restore macroeconomic stability. Well, are you sure we're going to be seeing anything of the sort? Well. It is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Now let's move on to some other stories making the rounds this morning, and this time round from the African front. And this time it is the war of the jollof rices. Okay, I should have asked Yomi when it was on. But UNESCO has settled jollof war between Ghana, Senegal, and Nigeria. So who won? UNESCO has settled a long-standing jollof rice dispute involving Nigeria, Ghana, Senegal, and Cameroon after declaring Senegal king of the famous West African delicacy in January this year. The Senegalese jollof stood out from that of the three other countries, cementing the country's position as the true originator of the dish. The UN Cultural Organization listed the dish in its representative list of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity, indicating how Senegalese may have influenced every other variant of jollof rice. Now, many people, many believe this move should have ended the jollof debate years ago. Now, jollof is believed to have originated from the fishing communities of St. Louis Island in Senegal and it is prepared by mixing rice with fish, tomatoes, and vegetable and other ingredients. The dish is typically made with fish steak, broken rice, dried fish, mollusk, and seasonal vegetables such as onions, parsley, garlic, chili, pepper, tomatoes, carrot, eggplant, white cabbage, cassava, sweet potato, okra, and bay leaf. Yeah. I think I've never had any jollof rice like that before. But jollof rice, a staple in many West African countries, has been the subject of social media debates between Nigerians and Ghanaians, as well as Nigerians and Cameroonians, each of them claiming expertise in the dish. But who tasted the jollof rice to say that, well, Senegalese are the best of it? Now, have they been, they should have brought maybe some cooks, chefs to come and taste it. What about that? All right, then, it's Starr Radio UK. Yinka Ogundele said, "End Nigeria to save lives." Well. Yinka, how true is that? I know people are all thinking that with everything that is going on, the best way forward is to end Nigeria. Now, Mauritania, the trial of ex-President Aziz can continue. The historical trial of former Mauritanian President Mohamed Ould Abdel Aziz for illicit enrichment can continue. The court decided yesterday. So that is going to continue there. It is all Starr Radio UK. And the Tunisian president has fired the foreign minister. Is it teetering towards Armageddon for the Tunis people? Tunisians per se? I don't know exactly what is happening there, but Tunisian President Kais Saied on Tuesday sacked Foreign Minister Othman Jerandi, who is the fourth minister to lose his post since the beginning of the year in a tense political context in the country. The presidency announced on its official website the replacement of Mr. Jerandi in office since September 2020 by Nabil Amar, ambassador of Tunisia to the European Union. Well, maybe they need a better face, a sweet face that could coerce foreigners to come to their aid. Is that what they're trying to do? Or is he trying to just cement his position there? It's all coming your way from Starr Radio UK. In other parts of the world as well, as we said, now Erdogan visits Koiki region as anger grows over rescue. It's one of the stories making the rounds there. A long journey to search for trapped or missing family. One man traveled to Turkey to try and find his missing brother by sifting through rubble himself. And crowds erupt as family rescued from rubble in Syria. Video shows a rescue team pulled 2 adults and 4 children from rebels in Idlib in Syria. It's one of the stories making the round. And then when it comes to the war in Ukraine, well, the Ukrainians are saying the soil of Bakhmut is dusted with snow and soaked with blood. This small city in eastern Ukraine is the center of an epic battle. For more than 6 months, Russian forces have tried to claim it. Ukrainian troops have resisted, giving rise to the popular slogan, "Here Bakhmut holds." Now the Russians are attacking from 3 sides with regular troops and fighters from the notorious Wagner mercenary group. The Russians have reached one of the main highways into the city and are closing in on the outskirts. There is house-to-house fighting in some areas on the outskirts with hard battles for every home. According to the Ukrainian military, it feels like Bakhmut is on borrowed time. If so, Ilya and Oleksky intend to use every second of it. The 2 Ukrainian National Guardsmen moved swiftly and silently across open ground on the front lines and then plunged into a trench. Their camouflage backpacks contains weapons of war, a drone, a modified hand grenade, and a Velcro strap. Now, the German-made grenade had a tail fin attached, made from 3D printer to ensure it exploded on impact. It's one of the stories making the rounds there. And it's almost a year, 24th of February will be exactly a year when the war in Ukraine started. Now, what has been achieved by Russia? Are they going to back out? Are they going to try to come in with a bang and to make sure that they dissipate or, destroy the whole of Ukraine the way that they were figuring out to do? But what do you think about all that? Now, in the U.S. as well, State of the Union Address 2023, Biden urges Congress to finish economic fight back. The statement that is made. The U.S. President Joe Biden called the Republicans to help finish the job of delivering for hardworking families in his annual State of the Union address. The Democrats stressed the importance of finding consensus as they address a divided Congress where the lower chamber now has a Republican majority, but a series of interruptions and heckles showed the uphill task it will be to find cooperation. In their speech, Republicans accused the president of woke fantasies. Mr. Biden's words were received by a packed chamber and high-profile guests, including U2's Bono, as well as Supreme Court justices. Now, over the president's shoulder at the restroom in the House of Representatives was one of his most vocal critics, the Republican Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Mr. Biden extended an olive branch to the opposition party, which took over the lower chamber last month with vows to investigate the president's family and cabinet. To my Republican friends, if we could work together in the last Congress, there is no reason we can't work together in the new Congress, said the president. We've been sent here to finish the job, he added. The president focused mainly on domestic issues, hailing the resilience and strength of the U.S. economy. Now, the president focused, unemployment dropped to a half-century low in January, and there are signs that the worst inflation in 4 decades is cooling. But the president acknowledged American families needed more breathing room. It's all coming your way from Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Now, so looking at some of the other stories making the rounds this morning across the globe. A New Zealand pilot has been taken hostage in Indonesia. Says the New Zealand pilot has been taken hostage by separatist fighters in Indonesia, Papua region. Now, Mr. Mertens, 37, was taken after his plane carrying 5 passengers was attacked after it landed in the remote mountainous province of Nduga. Now, his abductors, the West Papua National Liberation Army, have told BBC Indonesia he is safe. But they say they won't release him until the independence of West Papua is recognized. By who? The 5 passengers who were also on board, including a child, have been released because they were native Papuans. Sebi Sambon, a TPNBB spokesman, said. Now, Indonesia authorities say they are deploying a search and rescue team, but police noted it was logistically difficult because the remote area can only be reached by air. Meanwhile, the New Zealand Prime Minister Chris Hipkins said the country's embassy in Jakarta was working on the case. The Foreign Ministry had earlier said it was well aware of the situation. The small passenger plane, which belongs to Indonesia Suzy Air, had departed from the Moses Kilangin airport in central Papua early on Tuesday and was meant to return a few hours later after dropping off the passengers in Nduga. So we hope to see. Well, they said they want a declaration of the Papua and the Papua region, Papua National Liberation Army. They want a declaration to be a declaration, independent declaration of West Papua to be recognized. Well, do you think that is going to happen? Well, we've seen it several times and it doesn't. But some way, somehow, we're still here. Starr Radio UK. Well, when it comes to the missing mother and partner, okay, Nicola Belli, friend unhappy with search area tourists. Now, a friend of missing Nicola Belli has said an influx of visitors to the search area had made it feel like a tourist spot. The 45-year-old mother of 2 went missing 12 days ago on Riverside Walk in St. Michael's on Wire, Lancashire. Now, Heather Gibbons said the family understands human nature, but some have been turning up to do personal social media things. Now, please warn, they will not tolerate harmful speculation and online abuse there. So coming away from Starr Radio UK. the Northern Ireland Protocol. The Northern Ireland Protocol is lawful, Supreme Court rules. The Northern Ireland Protocol is lawful, the UK Supreme Court has ruled. Now, part of the Brexit deal, the protocol creates a trade border between Northern Ireland and the rest of the UK. It has been challenged by unionist politicians who say it breaches the Act of Union and the Northern Ireland Act. The court unanimously rejected their appeals on all grounds. It had previously been rejected by the High Court and Court of Appeal. The protocol was agreed by the UK and EU in 2019 to ensure free movement of trade across the Irish land border after Brexit. However, it means there are new checks and controls on goods entering Northern Ireland from Great Britain. The unionist case had three aspects: that the protocol unlawfully conflicted with the part of the Act of Union, which says all parts of the UK must be treated equally in matter of trade, and that the protocol changed Northern Ireland's constitutional status without a referendum as required by the Northern Ireland Act. Then finally, that the Secretary of State did not have the power to change Stormont's cross-community voting rules in relation to the protocol. The court agreed that the protocol does conflict with the Act of Union. However, it added that it was Parliament's will that any part of the Act of the Union which conflicts with the protocol are suspended. Now, the judges said Parliament, by enacting the 2018 Act and the European Union Withdrawal Agreement Act 2020, authorized the making of the protocol. And that brings us to the end of that story. One final story. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has met Rishi Sunak after arriving for his first UK visit since Russia's invasion. He held talks with British Prime Minister in Downing Street ahead of an audience with King Charles and a speech to Parliament. It comes as UK training of Ukrainian forces is set to be expanded to cover fighter jets, pilots, and marines. Now, he goes on to say the UK has also announced a fresh round of sanctions targeting Russia. Now, the latest sanctions target IT companies as well as manufacturers of military equipment such as drones and helicopter parts. Now, plans have been announced to train Ukrainian pilots to fly NATO standard fighter jets in the future, a key request from Ukraine. And this is where I bring the program to a close. For the first part of the program to a close, I'll be taking you to the Houses of Parliament for the Prime Minister's question time. But for now, let's take this musical break and I will cross you over to the House of Parliament. Stay tuned. Don't you go away.
Lo que pasa en el mundo hoy no es diferente. Cualquier cosa puede suceder. Partieron en su nave espacial. Hombres llenos de vanidad. Años luz de la realidad. So much trouble in the world.
potentially with the Assembly coming back and then passing it. But we are looking at all options, and I've asked officials in my department to see what we can do.
That completes questions. I have a short announcement to make before we come to Prime Minister's questions. The Clerk of the House, Sir John Benger, has informed me that he has indicated to His Majesty the King that he intends to surrender his patent as Clerk of the House in the autumn, to allow him to take up the role of Master of St Catherine's College, Cambridge. There will be an opportunity much nearer the time for honourable members to pay tribute to the outgoing clerk, and on that occasion I want to now say and place on record Sir John's reflections on his time as clerk, but that is a little time away. I will ensure arrangements are made to appoint his successor in plenty of time to allow a smooth handover. Before we come to Prime Minister's questions, I would like to point out that the British Sign Language interpretation of proceedings is available to watch on Parliament Live TV. We start with questions to the Prime Minister, Philip Holloway.
Number one, sir.
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm delighted that President Zelensky is here in the United Kingdom today. It is a testament to the unbreakable friendship between our two countries, and I'm proud that we are expanding the training for Ukrainian forces to include jet pilots and Marines and ensure that Ukraine has a military able to defend its interests today and into the future. Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others in addition to my duties in this House. I shall have further such meetings later today.
Philip Holloway.
Slava Ukraini. President Zelensky, we salute you. This year, the start will be made to the rebuild of Kettering General Hospital. Northamptonshire Police will reach 1,500 police officers, the highest number ever in its history. And Kettering is set to become one of the best connected towns for ultra-fast broadband in the whole country, thanks to City Fibre's investment. Together with the Prime Minister's pledge to halve inflation and tackle the NHS backlogs, isn't it time to tackle head-on the doom and gloom peddled by those who want this country to fail? And to be far more optimistic about the many good things happening in Kettering and across the country.
Well, my honourable friend is absolutely right, and I'm glad to hear of all the successes in his constituency, especially the redevelopment of Kettering General Hospital, something I know my honourable friend has been campaigning on tirelessly for years. But he's right, this government will continue to focus on delivering the country's priorities.
Leader of the Opposition, Keir Starmer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Over 11,000 people have died as a result of the devastating earthquake in Turkey and Syria, and that number is sadly rising. And I know many families here in the UK will be anxiously awaiting news. I'm sure I speak for the whole House in saying our hearts go out to each and every victim and their families, and we must do all we can to support the rescue and recovery effort. Mr. Speaker, this House is honoured to be addressed today by President Zelensky. From the outset of the war, he has symbolised the heroism, the resolve and the bravery of his people. The Prime Minister and I joined this House together in 2015. We've lived through important moments in our domestic and international politics. But none of those experiences compares to the pain and suffering of the people of Ukraine. Does the Prime Minister agree with me that right across this House it is vital that we all continue to stand together in full support of Ukraine?
Prime Minister.
Well, can I first join with the honourable member for paying our respects and thoughts to the people of Turkey and Syria, particularly those affected by the earthquake and the first responders who are doing such a valiant job. The House will be reassured to know that we are in touch with the Turkish and Syrian authorities and providing all assistance that they have required of us, including 77 search and rescue responders that arrived yesterday and have already begun work. And I spoke to the President yesterday to ensure that we are in close communication. And can I thank the Honourable Gentleman for his comments on Ukraine. It's something that not only the whole country can be proud of, but the entire House can be proud that we came together to stand by Ukraine when the moment mattered, and that we will continue to stand with them united as one Parliament and one United Kingdom.
Just for the record, he is the Right Honourable Keir Starr.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the Prime Minister for that answer, because every time Putin has been appeased, he's been back for more. Exactly. And so does the Prime Minister agree with me that across this House we must speak with one voice and say this terrible conflict must end with the defeat of Putin in Ukraine?
Mr. Speaker, our objective remains to ensure a Ukrainian victory in this conflict. Vladimir Putin's aggression cannot be seen in any way to have been successful, and that's why we have accelerated and increased our support militarily for Ukraine this year. It's a decision that I took as Prime Minister. Today we are going even further, not just having provided Challenger tanks and being one of the first countries to do so, which catalysed the provision of tanks from other nations as well, but also today to move to start training Ukrainian Marines in the advanced capabilities they will need to mount further offensive, but also to train their pilots on advanced combat aircraft. So the House can be reassured we will continue to support Ukraine to ensure decisive military victory on the battlefield this year.
Yes, Starmer.
Mr. Speaker, can I welcome the additional support the Prime Minister has outlined today? I've had the privilege, I'm sure he has, of seeing firsthand the brilliant work our military is doing in Salisbury to train Ukrainians in defending themselves. We all support this work and the UK's role in the international drive to ensure that Ukraine has the weapons and the technology required to defend herself. Does the Prime Minister agree that continuing this international effort is the only way to ensure Putin's defeat?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the House may not all be aware that actually we have continued to train Ukrainian soldiers because it's something that we have done for years before the conflict started and something that we should be very proud of. But obviously we've intensified those efforts. Last year we trained 10,000 Ukrainian soldiers through Operation Interflex. This year the Defence Secretary announced that last year we'll be training 20,000 Ukrainian soldiers in addition to the Marines and Air Force pilots that I mentioned earlier. But the Right Honourable Gentleman is right to highlight this has been an international effort. One thing that is a mark of UK leadership in this particular area is that around a dozen other countries have all come here to the UK to take part in our training programs to support Ukrainian soldiers. Many members from around this House will have visited in their constituencies that effort. It's something that's making an incredible difference on the ground, and I know something that the President Zelensky is incredibly grateful for.
Yes, Starmer.
I think the whole House would like to thank those involved in the incredible training that is going on. Mr. Speaker, before I entered this House, I had responsibility for fighting for justice in The Hague for victims of Serbian aggression. Does the Prime Minister agree with me that when the war in Ukraine is over, Putin and all his cronies must stand at The Hague and face justice?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Right Honourable Gentleman is absolutely right that we must hold those to account for the horrific crimes that they have committed. I'm proud that the United Kingdom has played again a leadership role in this regard, being one of the first countries to provide financial and technical support, putting investigators on the ground. We're shortly to be hosting a conference together with the Dutch, and also one of the things I discussed with President Zelensky this morning is our support for the work of the ICC, where thanks to the efforts of UK members, I'm hopeful that we will see the first indictments very shortly.
Keir Starmer.
Mr. Speaker, across this House, we don't just hope for Ukraine's victory, we believe in it. And part of that victory must be Ukraine's reconstruction. Does the Prime Minister agree with me that Russia should pay for the destruction it has caused through the wealth lying dormant in blocked Russian government assets?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we are the third largest humanitarian and economic donor to Ukraine, £1.4 billion of support that we have provided through direct grant assistance and guarantees at multilateral lending organisations. And again, the House will remember we took a lead in imposing economic sanctions on Russian entities, including individuals and state-sanctioned assets. We've ensured the provision of funds here will be put in a foundation for reconstruction in Ukraine, and we are currently working with international partners through the legal process to use those assets to fund Ukrainian reconstruction. Of course, that's something that we all want to see, and we're working with our partners to achieve that.
Keir Starmer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As a country, we've always been at our best when we stand up to tyrannical aggressors threatening their neighbours and peace on our continent. That's why the Labour Party helped found NATO, and why our commitment to NATO is as unshakable today as it was back then. Does the Prime Minister agree with me that whatever differences we may have, no matter what difficulties we face as a country, we in this House have a duty to stand on the shoulders of giants who came before us and support Ukraine's fight for freedom, liberty and victory?
Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, we remain the leading European ally in NATO, as we always have done. We continue to increase funding in our armed forces by £24 billion at the last spending review to ensure that we maintain not just our NATO obligation to spend 2% of our GDP on defence, but also we participate in every NATO operation and remain the leading nation when it comes to contributions to NATO's Rapid Response Force and the NATO Readiness Initiative. But I join with the right honourable gentleman in saying that this House and this country will stand united with Ukraine until we ensure the defeat of Vladimir Putin's unprovoked, unsanctioned aggression, and that we will make sure that Ukraine is not only victorious, but that we bring peace to its people.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Global Combat Air Programme, including Team Tempest, is vital for UK national security and for the world-class aerospace cluster we've got in Lancashire, with many businesses in Burnley and Padiham. This aircraft will protect UK skies, give the RAF the tools it needs for the future, and deepen our relationship with allies like Japan and Italy. So can I ask the Prime Minister, with a refresh of the integrated review taking place, to commit not just to the design and development of this aircraft, but to its production in Lancashire too, providing skilled jobs for generations to come for my constituents and residents all across the county of Lancashire?
Mr. Speaker, I was delighted to announce this landmark international partnership with Japan and Italy in December. Team Tempest partners already employ 2,500 people in the UK, with over 1,200 in the northwest. And as we are making more progress, we're going to continue to invest in skills and technology at the BAE Systems factory of the future in Lancashire.
Stephen Flynn, leader of the SNP.
So, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and on behalf of my party, I'd like to send our condolences to all of those impacted by the devastating earthquake in Turkey and Syria, and also to welcome the exchange between the Leader of the Opposition and the Prime Minister in respect of Ukraine. We all in this House are united in our condemnation of Vladimir Putin and in our hope for a better future for Ukraine. It will be an honour for all of us to listen to President Zelensky this afternoon. Mr. Speaker, in recent days, the former Prime Minister said that she did not regret her time in office. Does the Prime Minister regret her time in office?
I think we'll clear up which one, Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm grateful to all my predecessors for the contribution that they make to public life, and can I join with the right honourable gentleman in saying that I know the whole House will be looking forward to hearing from President Zelensky at the conclusion of PMQs.
Stephen Flynn.
Mr. Speaker, hold on a minute. Let's reflect upon the damage that was caused. 30 billion wiped off the UK economy. Pension funds brought to the brink of collapse. The pound reaching parity with the dollar. And interest rates for mortgage holders right across these aisles soaring. Now, the former Prime Minister won't apologise for the damage that she has caused. So on behalf of the Tory party, will he apologise for her?
Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, on the first day that I took office, I said that mistakes had been made. But what we have done is to ensure that right now, he mentioned the pound at a multi-month high, borrowing costs restored back to where they should be, an economy stabilised, a clear plan to halve inflation and grow the economy. That's what the Conservatives are delivering in government, and we continue to deliver it as well for the people of Scotland.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Burley House in my constituency is bidding to host the World Eventing Championships in 2026. This event is one of the pinnacles of the sport, and if we were successful in our bid, it would provide a massive boost to the local economy, as well as massive coverage for the UK on the global scene. Burley has a formidable track record of success, having previously hosted 2 World Championships and 6 European Championships. Would my right honourable friend agree with me that Burley would make a fantastic venue, and would he lend us his support so that we can be successful with the bid?
Well, Mr. Speaker, we are committed on building on our fantastic track record of hosting events like the Commonwealth Games, the Women's Euros and the Rugby League World Cup. I understand the relevant UK sporting authorities are looking at the location, and I'm sure that they'll be considering Burley in my right honourable friend's constituency in the near future.
And David.
Mr. Speaker, can I associate my party with the comments made about the unfolding human tragedy in Turkey and Syria, and with the warm words to welcome our ally, President Zelensky. He will know that this country and this House has total support for Ukraine's resistance to Vladimir Putin's illegal invasion, and it is a source of great pride that the British people have stood firm, united and unwavering in support of the brave heroes of Ukraine. Mr. Speaker, when President Zelensky addressed this House last year, he asked that we treat Russia as a terrorist state. Since then, Liberal Democrats have been urging the government to fulfil that request by prescribing the Wagner mercenary group. They are doing Putin's bidding, carrying out atrocities against Ukrainians on a daily basis. So on this symbolic day, Mr. Speaker, will the Prime Minister finally commit to prescribing the Wagner Group, a crucial part of treating Russia as the rogue state that it is?
Well, Mr. Speaker, we have taken a lead from the beginning of this conflict in sanctioning and taking action against those entities connected with the war effort in Russia and beyond. With regard to Wagner Group, the honourable gentleman will know that we have already sanctioned the Wagner Group in its entirety, as well as taking specific action against particular leaders, as he'll know. With regard to prescriptions, it's not something that we routinely comment on in public, but rest assured we continue to keep all of the prescriptions that we have under review.
Peter Gibson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. 22 years ago this month, a good friend of mine died from AIDS. Had he been tested for HIV, I am confident that with the medical advances we have made, he would still be alive today. As my right honourable friend will know, this week is HIV testing, and I welcome the government's ambitions to end new infections by 2030. Can I ask my right honourable friend to thank the Terence Higgins Trust for their incredible work? And will he look to extend opt-out HIV testing to more areas of high prevalence so that we can help discover more undiagnosed cases?
Prime Minister.
Well, can I thank my honourable friend for his incredibly thoughtful question and express my sympathies to him on the loss of his friend, and join him in paying tribute to the work of the Terence Higgins Trust, as I know the whole House will also join me in doing. They do fantastic work, and I look forward to talking to my honourable friend about what more we can do to spread...
Dave Dougal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The UK Government's fiscally illiterate electricity generator levy will choke off billions from future investments in renewable energy projects, the kind of projects that my Angus constituency excels at delivering. This investment will find its way to more favourable jurisdictions, putting thousands of green jobs in Scotland and our energy transition at risk. So will the Prime Minister commit to scrapping this environmentally and economically damaging tax, Or will he instead confirm that he and this latest Chancellor know the price of everything and the value of nothing?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, no, I don't think it's right that because of a war, when energy companies are making windfall profits, that those profits should go untaxed. That's what our levy does. It's right that we recover those excess profits from energy companies as a result of the war and give that money back to the country in the form of support with their energy bills. What is economically damaging for Scotland is the SNP's refusal to acknowledge the existence and need for a transition, and that's to support the North Sea oil and gas industry, which we are proud to do.
Mr. Speaker, human trafficking is when you move people legally from one place to another, often with the promise of a job, and then force that person into prostitution or labour exploitation. It has nothing to do with people who come illegally here in small boats. That is smuggling. A third of all human trafficking in the United Kingdom occurs wholly within the borders of the United Kingdom. When I was chairman of the all-party group against human trafficking, we campaigned for an independent commissioner. One was appointed in 2014. However, since April of last year, we have not had one. This is unacceptable. Would the Prime Minister use his good offices to get one appointed urgently?
Prime Minister.
Well, can I thank my honourable friend for all his work in this important area. I'm happy to look into the particular position that he mentions, and I know that he is proud, as I am, of our world-leading modern slavery legislation, thanks to the former Prime Minister on these benches. It is a world-leading piece of legislation. We're showing an example about how to tackle this, but I'll make sure that we have someone in place to do the job.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There are now more than 50% more social care staff vacancy than last year. People are stuck in hospital beds with nowhere to go. In my Bath constituency, the Liberal Democrat Council and our local hospital, the RUH, are trying their level best and trying new innovative solutions to tackle the social care backlog. But the Prime Minister knows that this is a workforce crisis. We must recruit and retain social care staff. So I ask him, will he support the Liberal Democrat proposal to pay a higher minimum wage to social care workers to tackle the social care shortages that underpin the NHS crisis?
Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, we recently announced £14 billion more for health and social care, and in particular, part of that money will go to a new discharge fund to speed the discharge of people from hospitals back into their homes and in their communities. That money is already making a difference on the ground. We can see the numbers of people unnecessarily in hospitals are already reducing, easing the burdens in our A&E departments, and that comes on top of the money that we've invested to improve training, recruitment and development of our valued social care staff, and that will make sure that we can reduce vacancy rates, increase retention and get the workforce that we know we need.
Aaron Bradley.
Mr. Speaker, last month, together with fellow North Staffordshire MPs, I hosted an event, a tea party, to welcome Ukrainian refugees living in North Staffordshire. Would the Prime Minister join me in thanking the sponsors, in particular Alton Towers, who hosted the event, the host families, and all the people of North Staffordshire who've made our Ukrainian friends so very welcome?
Well, I join my honourable friend in thanking Alton Towers, the other sponsors, and indeed all the families involved in putting on a tea party. I know many members from across the House will have done something similar. It's a wonderful way to show our support for the families that have come here. And again, something that the President this morning mentioned to me, how grateful he is to the United Kingdom that we have opened up our hearts and our homes to help those in his country that need our security and sanctuary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Big Brother Watch recently released a report into unaccountable government bodies such as the Counter Disinformation Unit, the Rapid Response Unit and the British Army's 77th Brigade. We're seeing huge swathes of public money being spent recording political dissent on social media under the guise of tackling misinformation. Politicians, including myself, the Leader of the Opposition, academics, activists and journalists, and even members of public have been subjected to monitoring by Whitehall officials. This at the same time as we're waiting for the reporting of the Pitchford inquiry into questionable state surveillance on campaigns like the Stephen Lawrence campaign. So can the Prime Minister tell us how much public money is spent on these units and whether he thinks it's a justifiable thing to do in our democracy to spend public money in this manner? And could you also update the House on the progress of the Pitchford inquiry?
Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I have to get back to the Honourable Lady on the Pitcher inquiry and indeed to give her an exact figure. But in general, I think certainly I on this side of the House believe very strongly in free speech and will make sure that we continue to protect it wherever we can.
Bring it forward.
Mr. Speaker, Friday the 24th of February will mark 1 year of Russia's barbaric war in Ukraine. Thousands of people have been killed. Over 1,000 children have been killed or injured. So will my right honourable friend, the Prime Minister, call for a national minute of silence on that day so that all across the United Kingdom, the people here can show their unending support for the people of Ukraine?
Minister.
Well, can I thank my honourable friend for all the work that she has done in her previous roles to ensure that we provide appropriate support to those in Ukraine. I thank her very much for her suggestion. I'm sure it's something that we are considering as we speak, and there will be many other ways that we can mark that moment, not least as an international community continuing to show united condemnation and isolation of Russia.
Karen McCarthy.
This week, Mr. Speaker, is Children's Mental Health Week. We know that adverse childhood experiences, whether that be growing up in poverty in the UK or indeed living through the horrors of war in the Ukraine, can have a lifelong impact on mental health. With the number of children in mental health crisis increasing year on year in the UK, does the Prime Minister believe he's doing enough to address the causes of childhood trauma?
Prime Minister.
Can I thank the honourable member for her question and let her know that we are doing more to make sure that the extra money we're putting into tackling mental health is particularly focused on young people, where we've seen a very startling increase in the number of young people presenting with mental health conditions that we all would like to arrest and reduce. That's why we're putting more mental health community support into schools and colleges across the country. That's being rolled out as we speak. And also just the other week we announced more money for crisis centres and urgent treatment centres in the mental health space in 100 different communities around the country, which will make a difference.
Richard Graham.
Speaker, this country's military and diplomatic support for Ukraine is strong and has strong support across the country. Less well known is a programme that has gone on for a decade, led by the Westminster Foundation for Democracy, to support the Verkhovna Rada, or Ukrainian Parliament. So does my right honourable friend agree that should this country host a reconstruction conference with the Ukrainians to discuss how Ukraine can win the peace, that the Foreign Office and the Westminster Foundation and other bodies can come together to see how we can help President Zelensky in the next stage of his country's development?
Prime Minister.
My honourable friend makes an excellent point, and as we look forward to hosting the Reconstruction Conference for Ukraine later this year, I'll make sure to take up his suggestion and involve all those organisations that can provide support to us and ultimately make sure that we can rebuild Ukraine in the way that it deserves.
Richard Ford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The government will want to help maintain popular backing in the UK for our support to Ukraine, including by helping people with their energy bills. More than 40,000 people across Devon live in homes that are off the gas grid. They're on the rural equivalent of prepayment meters. They need the money up front in order to pay for their heating oil and for their alternative fuels. The government announced an alternative fuel payment last September, but people in Devon are still waiting. What will the Prime Minister say to people who are off the gas grid and are waiting for their alternative fuel payment 5 months later?
Well, Mr. Speaker, we specifically considered people who were off the gas grid when designing the energy support schemes that we put in place, which is why the bulk of the support was delivered to those who had electricity meters to ensure it reached people like he mentioned, including many of my own rural constituents as well. That money should be getting to them. I'll make sure that it moves as quickly as possible. But we also put in place the local household support fund to provide discretionary funding that local councils can give to those households who are most in need.
Dr. Kieran Mullen.
Speaker, there's no doubt that the NHS is under enormous pressure across the UK, and despite record numbers of nurses and doctors, workforce remains a challenge. So can I welcome that for the first time the NHS will get an independently verified workforce plan. But we have to think long term on buildings too, and so in that regard can the Prime Minister look closely at proposals to rebuild Leighton Hospital, which is a campaign that has the support of thousands of residents in the South Cheshire?
Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I know that Leighton Hospital has been allocated over £44 million to address some of the immediate issues at that site, but I also know that the Honourable Friend is keen to ensure continued investment in his local hospital, and I know that the Department for Health are looking at more hospitals to join the new hospital programme, and I'm sure that they will have heard what he said, indeed the voices of his constituents too.
Liz Twist.
Mr. Speaker, bus services are vital to our communities for work, for health, for school and for socialising. But in a matter of days, the buses that millions depend on will face